Imagine you do everything right. You study the rules, you listen to elders, you follow advice step by step, and still, you crash. Not once, again and again. You sit there in the middle of your own life thinking, but I followed the instructions. Why does it still hurt like this? This story is for that feeling. There was once a ship captain who loved rules. He wasn't careless. He wasn't lazy. He was the kind of man who took responsibility very seriously. Around his neck, he wore a small leather case. Inside it was his most sacred object, a folded map, yellow with age, drawn by his great-grandfather. His great-grandfather had been a legendary sailor. People still told stories about his voyages. They said he knew the sea like other men know their own hands. Before he died, the old sailor had pressed the map into his grandson's hands and said, "Follow this, and you will be safe." The map had clear marks on it. Storms often here, rocky coast avoid, safe water here. The new captain believed in it completely, so every time he sailed, he opened the old map and laid it out carefully on the wooden table in his cabin. He placed his finger on the words, "Safe water here," and he steered his ship exactly along that line. One morning, the captain set out on a new journey. The sky was clear, the wind was kind, the crew trusted him. He held the old map like a holy text. "Today, we will pass through the safe waters my great-grandfather marked for us," he said proudly. The crew nodded. If it was good enough for the legendary sailor, it was good enough for them. The captain checked the map, then the compass, then the map again. "Turn 3 degrees to starboard," he ordered. "Stay on this heading. This is where the safe channel is." The ship moved forward, cutting through gentle waves. Everything looked fine. No storms, no dangerous rocks in sight. And then, a violent jolt. The whole ship shuddered. Wood groaned. Men grabbed ropes and rails as barrels rolled across the deck. The captain's heart slammed into his ribs. "Report," he shouted. "Sir, we've hit something," a sailor cried. "A sandbar, just below the surface. We're stuck." The captain listened to the awful grinding sound of the hull scraping against the unseen sand beneath the water. He stared at the map in disbelief. "This can't be," he whispered. "The map says, safe water here. I'm in the right place. I followed it exactly." He had done everything right, and still, he had crashed. The crew scrambled, trying to rock the ship free. The captain ran his finger over the old ink on the map, as if the paper could explain itself. "It says safe," he insisted. "This area is marked safe. There must be a mistake." But the sea did not care about his map. The sand did not move just because ink said so. Eventually, the ship pulled free, but the hull was wounded. Wood splintered, paint scraped away. The ship creaked now when it had once moved smoothly. The captain changed course slightly, but he would not abandon the map. This was just bad luck, he told himself. The map is fine. He moved the ship a little left, still inside the zone the old drawing called safe. Once again, the waves seemed gentle. Once again, everything looked normal on the surface. Crunch. Another impact. The ship lurched. More damage. The captain's face drained of color. "I don't understand," he muttered. "I did everything I was told. I followed the exact line. Why is this happening?" He began to shout at the crew. "You're steering wrong. You're not reading the compass right." But deep down, a quiet fear was forming. What if the problem was not the crew, not the compass, but the map itself? As panic rose, a calm voice spoke behind him. "May I look?" it said. The captain turned. There, near the back of the cabin, stood a woman with sun-browned skin, clear eyes, and a simple weathered coat, a navigator who had sailed many seas but did not wear medals or carry impressive titles. He had almost forgotten she was on board, hired at the last minute. "I don't need help," the captain snapped. "I have the best map in the world. It's my great-grandfather's map. It guided him for decades." The navigator nodded respectfully. "I honor your great-grandfather," she said softly, "but may I still look at the water?" The captain frowned. "At the water? The truth is on the map," he insisted, tapping the old paper. The navigator stepped closer, glancing briefly at the map. She saw the careful lines, the notes in the margin, the mark that said safe water here. Then she walked out onto the deck. The sun had climbed higher. The sea rippled gently around them. She knelt near the rail, staring into the water. The captain followed, still holding the map like a shield in his hands. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Listening," she replied. "Not to stories about the sea, to the sea itself." She pointed down. Under the clear water, he could now see it too. The pale shape of sandbars, long and shifting, just beneath the surface. Curving lines of shallow water, where long ago there might have been depth. "It moved," the captain whispered. "The sand moved." The navigator nodded. "The ocean is a dynamic system," she said quietly. "It is never the same twice." Currents shift, sandbars relocate, new shoals form, old channels fade. She looked at him with compassion. "That map in your hands," she continued, "is not evil. It is simply old. It is simply old. It is a record of where the safe water used to be, not where it is now." The captain's throat tightened. "So my great-grandfather was wrong?" he asked, feeling almost guilty for saying it. "No," she said gently. "He was right for his time. He gave you what he could, a picture of the sea he knew. But when you treat his map as a law instead of a memory, you create your own crash." She held out her hand. "May I?" Reluctantly, the captain handed her the map. She unfolded it fully, letting the wind tug at its edges. Then, to his shock, she tore it straight down the middle. Paper ripped with a soft, final sound. "What are you doing?" the captain shouted, reaching out. She met his eyes. "Saving your ship," she said. "You cannot navigate a fluid reality with static data. You must calibrate your compass to real-time conditions." She let the pieces of the map fall to the wooden deck. The captain stared at the torn paper, his whole identity shaking. Without that map, who was he? What if he made a mistake? What if the sea swallowed him whole without those old lines to cling to? The navigator placed a hand on the rail. "Feel this," she said. He hesitated, then rested his palm on the wood. "Close your eyes," she whispered. "Listen to the waves against the hull. Feel how the ship responds when the current presses from one side. Look at the color of the water, the pattern of the ripples, the way the birds circle. These are your instruments too, not just the ink on old paper." She pointed toward the horizon. "You have a compass in your hands," she said, "but you also have a compass in your chest. The outer needle shows you direction. The inner one tells you when something feels shallow, off, wrong, even if the rules say safe." Slowly, the captain began to experiment. He ordered a small change in course, not because the map told him to, but because the water beneath them looked lighter in color, a sign of shallows. He adjusted again when the ship's movement felt strained. He watched the birds. He watched the waves. He watched his own quiet unease and curiosity. The ship moved more smoothly. No grinding, no sudden shocks. He is sailing with the sea now, the navigator thought, not with a picture of the sea from many years ago. The captain felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. Not just safety, freedom. He still respected his great-grandfather. He still honored the old stories. But he no longer treated that old map as a cage. He had learned to look up from the paper and actually see the water. This is the physics of a living life. The world you move through is not a fixed drawing. It is a changing ocean. Your parents' rules, your culture's shoulds, your old success formulas. They are maps. Useful, sometimes, but only as long as they match the actual waters beneath your ship. When the terrain changes and you refuse to update, you don't prove your loyalty. You simply crash in familiar places and call it fate. You cannot navigate a fluid reality with static data. You must learn to feel the currents, to notice when your chest tightens, even though the rule says this is the right thing, to see when the water is getting shallow, even if the old map calls it safe. Respect the elders, honor the past. But when their maps and your reality no longer match, you are allowed, you are required, to sail with your own eyes open. Stop living your life by someone else's old map. The terrain has changed. Look at the water, not the paper.